Hello everyone and welcome to SuttonsDaze. We're doing a freezer clean out because we have a quarter of a small cow coming in the next, I don't know, week or two. And so I need to make room. I had 21 pounds of ground beef still in the freezer. And so I decided that this weekend I would get that canned up. Well, 20 pounds of it. 1 pound I left out. You want to check out the video next week. Anyway. So, we are going to can up some ground beef. Now, just because of space, I'm going to do 2 small batch canning sessions. Okay, let me get you out of here. Okay, so I have my 16-quart Presto. I already have 1 pot of ground beef that I have browned up. I am telling you, if you do not have one of these tools, oh, it makes it so much easier. Okay, I have my jars set up and my canning tools, and we're going to get this started. So you want to brown up your ground beef. I have done it raw pack before, and I just think it comes out of the jar better when you par cook it. It's also the approved method, okay? And we are going to be adding a liquid into this. I am just adding water for this round, and I'll tell you why when we get to that part. So let's get started filling these jars. I'm in a small pot kind of mood today, you guys, so that's why I'm doing 2 small batches of ground beef. Okay, so I did 20 pounds in my pot. I browned it up, and I didn't overcook it, I just cooked it. Okay, so there's a difference because you don't need it all brown and crispy because it's just gonna get wet. So I'm doing pints. Those are for 75 minutes. I will put a link down below for the National Center for Home Food Preservation. Now, I've kind of just cooked it and then put it to the side and let it cool down. Truth be told, I was waiting for Phil to wake up. Okay, so it is still warm, but it's not hot. So we're going to put this in there, and I'm going to kind of debubble as I go. Now, I did not drain off any of the juice that was in there. I'll just kind of move around with it. You want to leave an inch headspace. And pardon me, but the weather's changing and it's causing me some sinus issues. According to the National Center for Home Food Preservation, you want to cook your ground beef. You want to drain off any excess fat. And then you want to add boiling water or tomato juice or broth. I'm just doing water, and I'm not doing boiling water. The reason being that the beef has been allowed to cool off. I mean, it's, you know, it's not cold, but it's cool. And the water in the canner is going to be cool. So I am just adding regular water. So I have a pitcher of water here. I don't add any salt. No salt. So we're going to add the water, and then we're going to debubble. So why do you add water? Because water, I explained this in the canning video I did with ground sausage. Same concept, okay? Because water it acts like a conductor to make sure that the heat gets to the center of the jar and that it kills off any bacteria that might be there that will obviously make you ill and will make the canning process not worth it. So we want to make sure that this is all good. Now I'm just going to take a paper towel, a wet paper towel, run it across the top. I'm going to put my lid on and then put the ring on finger tight. Now I'm just going to pop that in my canner, and we're going to wash, rinse, repeat. Thought I'd bring you down here for a couple minutes. What can you do with canned ground beef? Well, you cannot make a hamburger patty out of it, okay? But it is really, really convenient and easy for any soups, any stews, goulash. Hello, yeah, I'll put the link for that. And tacos. Now, when you're using it for something like tacos, what you want to do is you want to open the jar. You want to drain off any liquid and then put it into a pan and brown it up. because otherwise it will not have a texture that most of us prefer when we're looking at something like tacos, okay? So if you're using it where it's not, wow, submerged in something, then that is what you want to do. You want to make sure to brown it. If you have some folks that are super sensitive to texture, they might notice the difference if you're putting it into soups and that kind of thing. I can't imagine it, but you know, I've been told. Now remember, you want to get to an inch headspace, so I need to bring that up a little bit. Okay. Debubble it again. Everybody's different. There is no right or wrong way when it comes to texture. So you just do you and decide how you like it. What happens if you don't drain off, you know, all the fat? It's not a lot. It's not a lot, okay? So some of these, when I cool them off, and I'll be sure to show you, when I get them cooled off, some of them will have a little bit more fat content in it because I have grabbed some of the liquid out of the pot that the ground beef is in. The fat, after the jar has cooled off, will, you know, become a solid up near the top of the jar. Not a big deal. You've pressure canned it. It is absolutely safe if you do it for the right time. If you deal with very hot temperatures where your pantry is, you probably want to use it sooner than later because fat can go rancid. I have not had an issue with that though, so you're going to have to, you know, test it out for your area. But here, let me show you. See some of this. You see the liquid that's going down in there? So typically about 2 scoops from my Wonder Scooper fills a pint jar of ground beef or ground meats. Sometimes I have to add a little extra once I beat it down, but we'll see. So you see how the liquid is in there? That's not a big deal. Seriously, not a big deal. Again, the fat is where the flavor is, so I am not hypersensitive to getting a little bit out of there. Just like with the ground sausage, it is not, you know, I don't want all of it in there, but I do not mind at all if there's a little bit in there. So we were talking about headspace. This ring right here is the 1 inch mark for the headspace. So that is what you want to try to get up under, okay? Just underneath that ring. And that's an inch headspace. You don't need one of those debubblers that you measure, but it is super convenient when you are using, you know, 1/4 inch headspace or 1/2 inch headspace to have that tool to tell you. But again, the rings also tell you. This top ring is a 1/4 inch headspace. So all is right and well with the world there. Hey Lisa, your rings look rough. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. As I have mentioned a few times, I get most of my jars and my rings used. I find them at garage sales, thrift stores, that kind of thing. And then I have some really super wonderful folks that have sent me newer rings that I have stashed away for later use. But as long as they screw on without an issue, they're fine to use. Doesn't matter what they look like. It's a tool to get the job done. Do you have to add salt? No, you do not. That is a preference completely. Salt is not part of the preservation process, so it is not necessary to put it into the jars when you're canning meat. It is a taste preference. Now, here's my disclaimer for this. I don't add salt to anything that I'm canning. I prefer to add it after I open the jars and I know what I'm going to use it for. Like if I added salt to these jars, right, then I take the risk of over salting this, having it just way too much sodium in there if I decide to use it for tacos. It's not necessary. And even with my taco mix, I only add a little bit of salt just for flavor, but it's not a requirement. So my recommendation has always been, don't add salt. It's not necessary. while we do all need salt in our diet, it's part of what makes our bodies run the way they're supposed to. Adding too much obviously is not good for you. And if you're on a salt-restricted diet, no need for it at all. You can make so many things without salt that still have a really great flavor to them. Okay, so I'm going to get the rest of these jarred up and put in the canner, and then we will be back. Oh, wait, real quick. With the lids nowadays, pretty much regardless of the, except for the reusable ones, except for Harvest Guard or Tattler, okay? You do not need to heat up the flats. You don't need to do it because they've made them now so that you don't need to. Actually, it's my belief there's so little compound on them anymore, it's not necessary. And especially when you're pressure canning, not really a big deal. Let me come back to the fat conversation for just a second. We have very lean ground beef. We purchase ours from a local farmer, and it's a nice lean ground beef. If you are purchasing ground beef that is like a 80-20 or even 85-15, then I would recommend trying to strain it, okay? That's another reason why I'm not horribly worried about any of the juices from cooking, because there's not really a lot of fat in this ground beef. Whoop, flying beef. And so it's not really a huge concern for us. Okay, did I debubble that one? Let's see. Okay, so now we'll do this one. Be cognizant of the kind of meat that you are canning. And you can, this question came up today in the Facebook group. Can you do half ground beef, half sausage? Absolutely you can. Great flavor. Great flavor. So if you decide to do that, then you do want to strain it and pull the fat off. Okay, so here we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. 9. I've got 9 in here. So we're going to do 9 pints in the 16 quart. Presto. Okay, so now I'm going to turn up the heat, and look at that. We have fire. Yes, okay, so that still excites me. Anyway, so we're going to bring this up to temp. We're going to let it vent a steady stream of steam for 10 minutes. We talked about this. I'll link the video, and then we will put the weight on. I'll be back then. We have been venting a steady stream of steam for 10 minutes, okay? And now we're going to put that on and bring it up to pressure. We'll know it's up to pressure when this starts rocking. Canner depressurized naturally on its own after the session, taking the jiggler off. We're going to take the lid off. Always open away from you. Nobody needs a face full of steam, right? Okay, now it's time to bring them out. Woohoo! Okay, so now we have 9 beautiful jars of ground beef. Oh, you see it bubbling? Yeah. That's all good. Okay. So while this batch was canning, I was browning up the other 10 pounds of ground beef. And so we are going to get started on filling some jars and then running that second batch. I'm telling you. Okay, where are we going to put that one, Lisa? Let's pack these up. Okay, there we go. And poof. Look at those lovelies. So pretty. Okay, so I'm going to get the second batch. I'm going to start jarring it up. We're going to swap out the water in the canner after it cools down a little bit more. And we will be back after the second batch comes out. Is that perfect? So I moved the first batch over here. Okay, they were cool enough to move by the time. And those 6 jars over there are going to be my 3rd batch because, yeah, let's do it the smart way, at least. Let's use a small canner. Okay, so the canner came down off of pressure. It sat here for about 5 minutes. And again, I'm going to pull them out. And we shall see what kind of trouble we get into. Okay. Nice, nice, nice. Now, I do not put vinegar in my jars, or I'm sorry, in my water, in my canner, because I find that it tarnishes my rings. And my rings are more precious than the couple of minutes that it takes me to wash my jars, which I have to wash anyway, so it's not an issue. Now, I did have somebody comment saying that their water is actually so hard that the cloudiness doesn't come off their jars when they wash them. So if that's the case, then yeah, use the vinegar. But ours does. So I just wash my jars like I normally do after a canning session the next day, and the cloudiness goes away, and I don't wear down my jars at all. So there we go. Okay. So I got another 9, so I'm going to end up with 18, 24 jars by the time I'm done. I'm not going to make you guys hang out for all of them, but I do want to show you the ground beef that I have canned on my shelf so you can see what it looks like. So this is the ground beef after it's cooled down for a couple hours. By the time, I mean, there's still some bubble action in there, so it's got a ways to go yet. But this is ground beef that I have had canned up for, I don't know, a month or so. And this is the layer of fat that I was telling you about. There's always going to be some fat in there. The idea is not to have a whole bunch, but it's not a bad thing to have it, okay? That, again, is where the flavor is, and this is with liquid in there. I think I used a beef broth with these ones in there, some bouillon. So, totally up to you how you want to do it, whether it's water, whether it's bouillon, whether it's tomato juice, your call, depending on what you use them for, okay? But, yes, this is good, good stuff. I hope that you give it a shot, and I hope that you like it as much as we do. Shelf-stable meats was one of the main reasons that I got into canning. It's one of the things that I can on a regular basis. I love having protein on the shelves that I don't have to worry about in the off chance that there is an electric issue. Okay, remember, if you like what we do here, please hit that like, subscribe, and share. Check us out on Instagram and Facebook. And until the next time, everybody, please be safe.